509th Atomic Bomb Group headquarters at Roswell, New Mexico, reports that it has received one of the discs which landed on a ranch outside Roswell. Colonel William Blanchard of the Roswell Air Base refuses to give details of what the flying disc looks like.
In July 1947, a UFO is supposed to have exploded in midair over Roswell, New Mexico, showering its debris over a remote ranch nearby. The actual saucer itself is said to have come down here on the plains of San Agustin. UFO proponents doggedly say that this vehicle that allegedly crashed here was extraterrestrial. The Roswell crash is the best-known case in the annals of ufology. Supporters of the extraterrestrial explanation claim that the military recovered crash debris and alien bodies from a site located on the very edge of a top-secret military base called White Sands. The press had a field day. Reports of a crashed disc hit the headlines, and Roswell quickly became a national controversy. The military were quick to quash stories of bodies, but their denials just fueled the belief that they were hiding something. The rumors about Roswell refused to die. I've come here to White Sands to find out the reason. There's something strange about the sky here. I'm over 5,000 feet above sea level, and the air is crystal clear. I've come to meet Mike Smith and Wayne Matson, two ex-Air Force officers who have lived in the area for some time. Mike explains that the desert climate can throw strange shapes into the air.
A lot of them are astronomical phenomena that, and our desert atmosphere here provides practically an infinity of weather conditions which can really play tricks with the eyes. And I have seen things that were perfectly explainable that really looked like something totally extraordinary, but they were explainable.
And as Wayne tells me, even cloud formations can be misleading.
Lenticular clouds are often mistaken for UFOs.
Pretty extraordinary, aren't they?
Lenticular clouds the wind comes hitting the mountains, swoops up, and as it goes over the top, the clouds form. I have seen a half a dozen UFOs, lenticular clouds that were one, about a minute later, a second one, and so on.
The cloud story may explain some of the unusual sights witnessed in this area, but it doesn't begin to account for the Roswell incident. Debris was recovered from the crash site, so there is physical evidence that something did come down on the plains of San Agustin. But the mystery surrounding Roswell comes from the fact that the US Air Force changed their version of events 3 times. I've discovered that one of those stories was linked to a covert military operation flying out of the Roswell area. Duke Gildenberg worked on a secret balloon program called Skyhook, designed to fly covert missions over the Soviet Union.
The Skyhook balloon wasn't born until 1947, and therefore, when it first appeared and for the first 5-10 years, it was a new sight in the sky. Holloman Air Force Base, then Alamogordo Air Base, was the prime launch site for the United States Air Force, and it happens to be just upwind of Roswell, so when the balloons would climb out, even if they were going to go 1,000 miles the other way, the initial climb out would be in the direction of Roswell, close enough to see, even if they get right overhead. Every flight we flew generated UFO reports. In fact, for a while, we were even using it as a backup tracking system. We call up a town and say, anybody see a UFO this afternoon? Yeah, one to the, okay, what direction? To the south? Okay, keep an eye on it. We allowed them to remain UFO reports, with the hope being that once they got over the Soviet Union, they'd still be registered as UFO rather than our reconnaissance balloons.
But in one incident, the UFO cover story broke down, leading to a famous US-Soviet standoff.
Yeah, we faithfully promised President Eisenhower that we wouldn't get shot down, but we were, for a few, and we wound up with Khrushchev at the UN exhibiting on the table one of our payloads, perhaps with my initials on it, banging his shoe on the desk and protesting because we were overflying his country with cameras.
Is Roswell explicable as a balloon crash?
That is correct. I worked on the Pentagon report for months and months and months, and looking at all the testimony, it was really obvious that one was a balloon landing in '47. There was another one maybe a couple weeks later that wound up being described in the Telegraph to J. Edgar Hoover, and it described it as a balloon.
As credible as Gildenberg's explanation sounds, I'm not convinced. I've come across a memo that suggests there was more to the incident than the Air Force was admitting.
For the way Joe tells the story.
In September 1947, just a few weeks after the Roswell crash, General Twining, head of the Air Materiel Command, issued a classified memo to a small group of his senior officers outlining his concern about the rash of flying saucer sightings that had been seen across America earlier that summer. In the memo, he states that the phenomenon is something real and not visionary or fictitious, that there were objects approximating the shape of a disc in the sky. He talks of operating characteristics such as extreme rates of climb and maneuverability. One of his conclusions, indeed, is that these discs might be the product of some high-security project not known to his command.
The Twining memo shows the Air Force was taking the flying saucer sighting seriously. I'm going to interview someone who has high security clearance and who might throw light on what really crashed at Roswell.